Yeah, we're good to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this chat with Severlin, our executive producer on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm Loatro's community manager, Cordovan, and I'll be facilitating the chat over the next hour. But with us as well, and let me turn essentially the microphone over to our executive producer, Rob Ciccolini, Severlin. How's it going?
Hey, what's up? How is everyone?
We are doing all right here, ready to kick off another weekend, including playing Loatro. We got our Ill Omen skirmish event in full swing through March 7th, so that's one main focus. We're doing our previews here in the coming weeks about the Wildwood. We had a sit down with Scenario this week, looking at some of the landscape building of Wildwood and building landscape for Loatro in general. You can find that video on Twitch and YouTube as well. And I know you've been hard at work on a little thing called a producer's letter, along with really helping to get our 2021 plans in place, locked down, and ready to talk about, as it were. So that's what brings you here with us today. Is to now that we've been able to carve out a little bit of space, sit down, just take some general questions from the community, and see what we can talk about. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually kind of like I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a green with, it's not actually black. So I wasn't attempting to go all in black today, but because of the lighting, it may appear that way. I apologize.
Nice. So, will we not be taking any questions from the thread on the forums? Anne Darrell asks, yes, I've seen that thread. I have it put together, and if necessary, we will dip into those questions as well. I expect that we're not going to have a shortage of questions here over on Twitch. So,
Right.
why don't we see where we get started here? Let's take that first question, as it were. If you want to ask Sev something here, let's get it going in Twitch chat. So.
Yeah, one of the things about the forum questions is like we have no problem answering them, but sometimes people have said, "Oh, well, you call out all the hard questions from the forums," so it's sort of like let's let Twitch chat say this.
Everyone's being shy in Twitch chat. I'm sure once the questions get started, they will keep going. But let's have one of you. Well, actually, I kind of thought this might happen. It might take a couple minutes to get everyone going. So why don't we maybe just talk a little bit about what's next here with the Wildwood of Breeland, which is our next big update. So, would you like to talk anything about maybe our next update here?
Freeland is kind of cool because it's something that fills out content in the middle levels rather than being an end game piece of content. There are missions that are good for end game players, but it'll be kind of cool when you're bringing up alts or for our newer players to kind of have an alternate way to level in that area. And it also helps us filling gaps of the map, because one of the things we love about Loatro is that the world is continuous and beautiful. And the more we round out the map in our development, the more chance we have to do that, the more the world feels real. So we're kind of excited about that.
All right. I thought that might get us going on some questions. So let's take this one from Nizumet, if okay. In 2021, are we taking the hobbits to Gundabad?
Oh yeah, like we're all excited about the Good and Bad expansion. Well, I mean, you'll be taking hobbits to Good and Bad. I'm not going to talk about whether the story will be moving any hobbits to Good and Bad. Certainly, the player hobbits should be heading there. So yes, that is coming. Later in the year. We're working on it continuing our main storyline, so that will be good. And yeah, we're excited about it. Uh, the Guardian class update and the tank class balance in general are ongoing. So we are constantly looking at different class balance things. Right now, the reason that it may not be coming out as fast is because of me, because the team is excited about doing Brawler, and so some of our class update people are doing that and going through with Brawler at the same time. So you should see that picking back up once we're once our playtests of Brawler are further along, but it's looking pretty good.
That's in relation to a question about the timeline for the Guardian class update and tank class balance in particular.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question from Druid's Fire here, if that's all right. Do we have another piece of content scheduled between Wildwood and Gundabad? The answer to that is yes. That'll be update 30 in the summer.
Yeah, update 30 is called the Blood of Adal.
Sorry, my clock. I forgot to turn it on live.
It's not,
Just a second.
So there'll be another content piece there that will be targeted more towards the end game, although there should be missions. So that would be good. We don't have any word on pricing or release timing for Wildwood as we come forward with that. The Brawler is a large piece of work, and so you won't see any Brawler anything teasing on the Brawler until we go through our big updates. Let's see, there's a communication question. How do I feel the communication between the Loatro community and the team is? I think the team individually tries to keep up with it, although so they're trying their best and still finishing the stuff that we want to finish. I think that excuse me, I apologize. I feel the communication could be improved, and this is one of the reasons them doing the Ask Me Anythings, so players can kind of get a sense of asking their questions in these. I would love to go through every question, but we only have an hour, and I try to answer as many as I can.
And we want to answer questions that we can actually answer as well.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. One of the things we'll talk about in the letter is our Pvmp. We've added a little bit of resources to that to kind of look over that and work on it a little bit. So you should be seeing a modest amount of changes, but more than we have now on that as they look at that. I don't want to blow out of proportion what people will be seeing, but we have added a resource on that. So Scrolls of Empowerment. Any game, what we want is we want the players to feel like they're rewarded for playing content of their level. So if you're doing catch-up, we have no problem about you playing old content to get Scrolls of Empowerment. That's awesome. But if your max level character feels obligated to go back to older content, that's just not good design. It wouldn't be good design for any game. We're not trying to make it harder for you. We're just trying to make it so that you're doing challenging content so it isn't as monotonous. Now, we went through and we made the changes, and then we made them improved. We added extra scrolls in the lower levels. But for the end game players, we want to have them feel as though their best option for it is to play end game content. And that's really our goal for that.
Yeah.
So as we talk about Scrolls of Empowerment, I just want to go over again our apologies for the legendary items. I think I can speak for the team that says that the progress on the legendary items is quite possibly like the thing that I regret most, because as the team's priorities have been shuffled by unforeseen circumstances, we've had to push it off not once but twice. So I know that a lot of people are like, why are we still going through the scrolls? When is this going to get revamped? And so we're doing a renewed look into that this year and going through and hopefully we'll be able to hit that, and our engineering resources won't be scooped up on other projects that were unexpected. I know that you've been hearing that a long time, and that's one of our bads, quite frankly, is that the legendary item still hasn't been revamped, and we're excited to do it. We want to do it, but it's a large amount of engineering is really what the resource lock is. So we're working on that now, and we should have more news about that later in the year. But yeah, like a lot of the people that are asking about the scrolls and are super passionate about it, I get it. I know that we need to be better about that, and the revamp of legendary items, so it's one nice smooth system that doesn't try to block you from progressing all the time, is one of the things that we want to do.
And I would think things, we had a couple of comments related to things like stack size for Scrolls of Empowerment and usage action for them. Could we have like a bulk usage action? I would imagine those kind of things might be some of the things we'd look at in the future as we're working to do more substantive work with legendary items.
Absolutely. The one of the reasons that we haven't taken another pass at, I mean, we did take a pass at DUI, and one of the reasons we haven't taken another pass at it is quite frankly because it's being revamped. So the work that we're going to put into the legendary items now will be redone in hopefully less than a year. Depending on how engineering. Once engineering gets in there, they're going to kind of dictate how long it's going to take. So let's see, what did you add?
Someone's asking if we'll see Brawler available before Gundabad's actual release, kind of like a pre-order class thing. We've done that in the past, and that sounds like something we might be looking at, but I don't know
Yeah,
really what we've. I don't know that we've committed to anything there, but that doesn't sound outside of the realm of possibility to me.
our our current plans
Yeah,
are that it will be part of the pre-order for
yeah.
Gundabad. So you'll get to sort of play it. That will give you a chance to get in there and use it so that the players will be able to play that. So yeah, that's our current plan. Now, as we go through, doing a new class is a big deal, and I don't want to. The team is going through and working on it and doing a great job, but there's a lot of things that can happen in the final phases of it. So just keep that in mind. It's not a normal, like putting in a new class is not a normal task that we want to make promises about because let's see, what else?
Someone has a question about pricing or release timing for Wildwood. I can say that we've mentioned that on the pricing front. This will be a regular quest pack. This is not something that you will need to purchase as like an expansion or anything like that. And it's just going to be a regular quest pack and free to VIPs, right? And then timing is next month sometime.
Yeah. For the legendary items, we don't want to have two different systems where you level up your legendary item for a long time and then change it over to a new system. So part of the LI revamp hopefully will be just having one system from level 50 onwards. The Gundabad is going to be released later in the year, after summer certainly, and so obviously as we're going forward, because it has so many moving pieces and has a new class, I don't want to get too specific on that. Uh, the closed servers stuff is a tech ops restriction as we move forward. The engineers have finished their work, and there's some tech ops work that keeps getting pushed back because of with COVID. The internet has been weird this year. Keeping the servers going has been a little weird, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, things will line up, and it will be better in the future. I don't even know what to say about that, but we're working on getting those across and up to date so that they can be moved. Let's see. I will look into the wardrobe space and vault space increases. Um,
In general, we want to let you have as much vault space as you'd like, and so usually these restrictions are due to other factors. I don't know what our room is to do more of that short term here.
Someone said hobbits can't be lore mastered; they just eat their pets, and I read it as hobbits can't be lore master pets. I was like, no, that probably would be a bad thing. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going. Can we?
Just for clarity, the transferring from the closed game worlds is something that will be happening in the relatively near future here. It's
Yeah,
not a question of if, just when.
yeah. The last piece. I was trying to speak with
Yep.
like the very last piece and what's holding it up.
Yeah.
But we'll be there.
Yep.
Um, I'm going through. Okay, so any chance of Let's see.
What about river hobbits? I see a couple people mentioning that. Are we actually committing to river hobbits? Did we ever
Sometime
commit to it? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
talked about wanting to do it, and probably after Good to Bad. It's not part of Good to Bad because we're doing a new class, and we can't do a new class and a race at the same time. So I would expect to see it in 2022. No promises there. The LI system, we're working on a revamp that will make leveling alts better. Sorry, I don't mean to talk monotonous and as if I'm listing things off. I'm just trying to keep up.
Yep. 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 We could mention real quick about. Okay, we did mention musical instruments.
So for everybody talking about, there's a lot of class balance of when will my class be happening. That's an ongoing work that will go forth. I am not going to talk about. I only have an hour and can't talk about the specifics of every class tree in the game. I apologize, but that's something that you definitely want to keep up on the forums. So our tier 5 rewards are definitely meant to feel more rewarding than T1 and through T3 in that they drop more frequently. But one of the things is that like tier 5 rewards are a prestige achievement, and the players who do it, like we love watching them and it rocks. But we don't want to make the loot difference so great that people feel obliged. Like high difficult content is something that some players love and some players hate. So we want to make sure that it does feel more rewarding, but not too much that the other players feel as though they can't participate in getting cool loot unless they're moving up that thing too much. Yes, we are all aware of the timing, attack speed, animation related problem with races and weapons. The animation speeds really are all over the place in terms of timing. But we have to be really careful because once we start touching that, there's so much balance work to refix it. So it's a big thing that we're looking at and want to address. It's a huge I don't want to say problem. If the design is not what we would do with our modern sensibilities, and to address it, we almost have to do an across the board thing that touches a lot of animations, and the animations are really, really expensive. But we do want to get to it. I would imagine, I think our plans are to have another Valar at 130, but I'm not going to commit to that because there may be technical reasons that would be a issue. So yeah, I hear you, and I think that would be something that we'd want to look to, but let's see, what else? This is it's kind of funny. I'm trying to answer and be more lively, but it's kind of hard when the questions are coming by so fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, we always want to add value to the VIP system for the people who subscribe. I think that's something that we definitely want to do. We did add a whole bunch of VIP stuff. Getting your ability to summon vendors literally anywhere is pretty sweet. So we're looking on that. I know that when I am on a account that doesn't have VIP, I really miss that. So some of the old content that scales to higher levels, we would have to revisit to make sure that the difficulty and time is in line with our other instances, so people don't just abandon new content and just do those over and over again. So
I am just wanting to say quick, I think I'm picking up on your end maybe some sound notifications from one of the group software chats that we use. I don't know if if you need to
What,
mute
make it
something there.
louder?
Well, no, I'm thinking more mute something, but I'm not sure. I'm picking it up on my end, and I've got all mine closed, I believe. So, but just something to take a look at here while I perhaps look at chat real quick. So, we've had some questions about bringing further support to Lua. We have no plans at this time to do an expansion of our Lua support. I know that it's popular for some kind of creators in particular, and you'd like us to be able to include things like item IDs. I saw on that forum question and answer thread about could we bring item IDs and all that to it. I think that kind of thing, we're certainly not opposed to it, but it's not something that's on our agenda in terms of dedicating engineering and other resources to further expand our Lua API. I could mention about the next preview on Bullroar that is tentatively set for, I think, next week, but at the very least in the relatively near future here, we're going to have another preview on Bullroar before we go live with it. So,
Okay, is that I closed some stuff? Is that better?
yeah, I haven't heard anything yet, so I think that should be okay. So,
Okay.
what do we want to mention about the anniversary this year? We have Oyabella from Twitch Chat asking about what can we say about the upcoming anniversary?
So we have a anniversary content festival planned for the anniversary. We'll be having a, social media stream. Hopefully, I'll be doing another AMA before then, but like I expect to be able to talk to players during it. So, and yeah, there's great.
Oh, it looks like I might have dropped your camera. Let me. Oh, there we are. You're back. Sorry about that. I was messing with some windows with trying to check out the audio issue I was picking up, and I accidentally dropped your video from our stream briefly. So, sorry about that, folks.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're looking to is trying to get more resources to work on the crafting system. I agree on that. It isn't something that we will probably do before Gundabad, other than actually doing cool crafting stuff for Gundabad. That is certainly in the works. So yeah. So for server lag, that is, as you've seen, with the RAID effect lag, that is something that we're looking at. Right now, we're experimenting with changing the configuration of our back-end server harder, because we are seeing places where players are reporting lag, and that's one of the things that we are looking into as we're going forward. Like, that's one of the things that we do want to concentrate on with engineering resources this year. Now that our back-end infrastructure work was finished by end of last year, we're just doing the last bit of stuff we need to get Dark World transfers back up.
Mm-hmm. People are asking about a kinship revamp. That is something that has kind of long come up as a community want. We don't have any short-term plans that I'm aware of for kind of a wider kinship revamp, but I know we've certainly expressed interest. I want to give you an opportunity to say anything you'd like to mention there.
Yeah, kinship revamp is definitely on our list. It is priority after Gundabad, lower priority than class balance stuff. Higher priority than some other things. First, we need to do legendary item, obviously, and then that's something that we do want to look into.
Yep. I am also just real quick taking a look at our YouTube and Facebook chat. It seems to be many of the same questions, so I think we're okay there. What about we've not mentioned any plans to do European local to Europe game servers. We have some Europeans asking us about any future possibility of that.
And we don't have any plans currently to split our server infrastructure between here and Europe. I understand that there are people that remember that fondly. We just don't have the resources to support both, and not at the moment anyway.
Will there be a new raid before Gundabad? I believe the answer to that is no, right?
That's not true. There is a smaller raid that will be before Gundabad. That will be,
Oh, right. Yep, in
yeah,
Update 30. We actually have one kind of penciled in for Update 30 here. So, yeah. Yes is the answer to that.
yes. Update 30 is a normal. Wildwood is a normal content pack. Update 30 is a normal content pack. In terms of like what you can expect.
We have not announced a level cap increase. So we don't really have a plan for the next level. We have said this week that it's not going to be 135. We sort of got that pulled out of us because of some concerns over the ill-omened skirmish items min-level change. So we have said it won't be 135, and people are speculating a bit as to the what and when on our level cap increase.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that the EU players are seeing is that they're also seeing normal server lag, which we need to address.
Yeah. Yep.
For treasure chests and dwarf markers and such, those are an exploratory thing. So I don't think we have plans to put them on the region map. You're going to have to search those out. I agree that there can be pointed changes on class balance, but there will always be pointed changes on class balance. I'll talk to the team about it. I just don't want to blow their time budget because they have, lives too.
All right. Speaking of sort of tougher questions here, let's get this one asked from Pastor J. How do we feel about how the launch of our first mini expansion went with War of Three Peaks, particularly regarding the pricing for players and sort of the decision to charge for it as a mini expansion?
So I think that that's a good and hard question. So one of the things that happened with the first mini expansion is that obviously we've learned a lot of lessons from doing it. We had some limitations to the store at the time because the store was new and couldn't do everything that we wanted to. I think in the future, the lessons that we've learned are that one is that the VIP players need better value. So I think that something like that needs to be either they get more value from it or their VIP allows them, more access to it, maybe even cheaper, but I'm making no promises because we're still working out the store. But there is some level of VIPs need more value from mini expansion. Especially our goal is to bring more content, and the mini expansion allows us to do that. But we agree that with the VIP program, it wasn't ideal. We're not trying to squeeze them. So I think that's one of the things that we learned from that and needed to do. At the time, though, it was a hard decision because with the store, we couldn't physically do it. We just didn't have the tech, and we didn't feel that it would be good for us to push that off for months and months while we got that tech in place. As for the mini expansion, I feel that the upper bundles were good value, but they weren't the great value that players have come to expect from our bigger expansion. So I think that although they were good, I think that we should have done better on that, and that's something that we also learned. And that wasn't intentional. That was just some of the stuff that we went through. The value just wasn't there. Our math was missing on that, and that's something that we want to address in the future if we go to that format again. Is that those there has to be greater value. Like if the players are so good that they're going to support us by investing in the upper bundles for to help us get a lot of content out, we really want them to feel appreciated with like some really awesome goodies, and maybe we should have done a better job on that in terms of that.
We'll also ask about the amount that we are, as of this week, charging in Loatro points for War of the Three Peaks. War of the Three Peaks hit the Loatro store for the first time this week, available for Loatro points. The current cost is based on, a number of e-commerce kind of considerations. I would point out that it did just debut this week, so it's probably going to be debuting at its maybe it's going to be debuting at its highest price point, and it'll presumably be subject to future sales and things like
Well,
that.
I mean, so for once it goes for points, points
Yeah.
can be gained by players in a variety of ways, including big sales and such. So the cost price point is kind of hard to calculate on that.
Yeah.
But that's a good question. I'll look into it. It's our goal that it's equivalent.
Yeah.
So if we feel it's a little more, then that's something that we can look into.
I think it's priced similarly to content of its size. They have a calculation that they use for that. So
I think the next roll for Wildwood is next week. But I'm not making promises on that because they're working on stuff and it may get pushed. It can always get pushed, especially when content is being fine-tuned. So there are some things that we can do for gear and rewards that have to do with alternate ways of gearing. Hopefully we'll be able to find some cool stuff for you to get gear with essences that concentrate on other ways of rewarding you so that you don't feel as though the gear is useless. So that's an ongoing discussion that we're having in terms of going forward towards update 30, the blood of update 30 is the blood, right? Or am I missing?
Yep. Update 30. We haven't yet announced its title, but yeah.
Yes, and we all love adding instruments. I'll ask about that. We try to get in instruments,
It has been a bit.
Semi-regular basis, but like it has been because I mean, I'll be honest with you, like the awesome music that Bill is adding to the game is fantastic, and so I think that we can't do everything. So he's been doing a lot of good work there. Let's see. Shore carryalls, yeah, I would like those too, actually.
Can I ask a question? This one comes from Facebook, and I know that as kind of an MMO fan, this is a topic that may be of interest to you.
Sure.
Trevor over on Facebook asked about, could Loatro ever get a stat squish? That's something that we've seen other MMOs sort of recently announce for their games. Does the future ever hold a stat squish for Loatro?
I would say that those are discussions that we've had. I think that the way stats work, what the numbers are now, and how they play out are something that we've looked at. That's a big deal because you have to basically rebalance the entire game. But it is something that I know that systems would love to do, to kind of take a look at what the stats do and how they do it. Keep in mind though that when we do that, all of your class guides out there become sort of like invalid. Because basically they have to be redone. So there's a lot of collected knowledge of the game over the year that has to be started from scratch. That can be hard on new players when they're kind of searching for data and it's out of date. But our class balance changes also do that. So I don't know that I would consider that a huge concern, but
yeah.
How do you balance work in terms of things that are broken, needed fixing versus add new content? That's a really good question. And it's a hard question too. One of the things that we do want to do is fix things and versus adding new content. We're looking at making more investments in systems work that will fix things. So our goal is 13 weeks. We want the players to have something cool to do every 13 weeks. Not only does that seem to intuitively be the exciting time, but as we look at the data, that seems to be when the players begin to lose interest, both in this and other games that we've looked at. So our main goal is to make sure that the players have cool stuff. Now, sometimes that means that there are two bigger updates further apart and something in between that's cool, but that's our main goal, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do. And as we kind of move towards different kinds of content, that's basically, if you're saying, why are they doing this kind of content? Usually 13 weeks is the answer. We're trying to get out something at least every 13 weeks or faster. That's kind of why we want to do the unfinished tales. A cool way of adding, small story content between big updates that the players can play through, not only on their mains but their alts or repeat every now and then. So that will be cool.
All right.
Let's see. We definitely want to make engine improvements. There's a lot of discussion about investing into the engine and the graphics of the game. I normally wouldn't have anything to announce yet, but since EG7 was so excited that in their letter to their investors, they talked about how they wanted to invest in Loatro. I think that I can say that that is something that we want to do. So that's great.
What can we say in general about some chat connect and disconnect issues that players on Loatro have seen, in addition to some player reports of getting stuck on load screens? I know that that's something our technical operations team has spent quite a bit of time on in recent weeks.
Technically, our current plan is to move the chat server onto a different space in our master server, and that way the two don't interfere with each other. And we're currently experimenting with that, but making that change, even though it sounds pretty simple, in practice requires a lot of behind the scenes work. We think that that will offer substantial improvement along those lines, but we're going to be rolling that out carefully so that the servers where we do that to can be monitored and won't cause other problems. So that's currently what we're working on for that.
We have someone who wanted to reply to the Lua question as well, saying, "Can we fix existing issues with Lua?" I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but as this is the reality of it, we do not have plans for working on Lua in an official capacity in the short term that I'm aware of.
Right. In the longer term, we are looking for. We would love to get more resources to do some large-scale graphical updates. One of the big things that we all know we need is 4K support. The people who come on as 4K have a bad experience, and we're talking about doing that. But that's a whole UI engineering and task and design that require specialists to do it. It's not something that you want to kind of ease into. You really need to concentrate on doing that right. So that's something that we're looking into, the viability of doing that.
Gifting from the new Loatro market we've mentioned in the past. Someone asked about when that'll happen. I don't have an ETA to announce, but that is also on our agenda for the relatively near future. It's something we want to be able to have you do, which is potentially make a purchase through the Loatro market and be able to gift it. But we don't have anything to announce today on a timeline for it.
So we have hiring, like we have a number of positions open to improve the team and expand it. So for the people who are looking that may have those skills, take a look at our website. We're eager to talk to you. We definitely know that scaling UI is a thing that we want to do. For the, let's see, said there's raid coming. There is a new raid. It will look at how can I put this? Until Good to Bad, we understand that doing cool loot is challenging because there are people that are matched on certain stats. So we want to approach that very carefully. But I don't want to go into details because we're still going through that.
I have not heard of plans to do a sale on the 3 minute Smorgle bundles. I know there's some people in Twitch chat lobbying for that. I would expect to see that in the future. We typically have, at the very least, our Loatro market items are usually on sale around Black Friday and the holidays, things like that. So I would expect to see it potentially happen in the future, but this is February here, so I don't see any... I don't think that seems too likely in the short term.
Okay, sorry.
How do you decide what gets made? Bloodborne asks. How do we decide what takes priority as far as scheduling and workload for the team?
So we balance all of the... So we want the feedback from the entire team on basically how that does. Sometimes we look at something and the data seems to indicate that maybe it's not working as well as we'd like, so we make changes to see if we can fix that. There's some content that the players like play a lot. There's some content that isn't played as much, and so that we try to use that data behind the scenes to prioritize what we're working on. When we see something that doesn't seem to be doing as well, we look, is this an issue with, there's something about the design that we could improve, or is this type of content isn't as popular? And basically, we try to use the data that we're getting on how the players are engaging with the game to make those decisions. So we take update, we see how it did in data-wise with how many people played it, how long they played it, obviously form feedback. And then we go back and compare it to other similar content, and then basically go through and figure out.
Yep. There's never gaps to fill, or very rarely gaps that can't be very, very quickly filled.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The 105 update is coming. It's on our calendar. I honestly didn't study the specifics about when the next legendary item server is coming. I don't want to answer incorrectly on that.
Yeah, that'll be within the next few months.
Yeah. Any news? Yep. We saw the landscape difficulty NPC and the most recent bull roarer. You should not have seen the landscape difficulty NPC, so I wouldn't have to talk about it. But yes, we do want the players to be able to come into the game and experience it in different ways as they're leveling, so that maybe they want to group or they want to move on that. But yes, the mysterious NPC might be indicating that we are working on some things that will allow players to perhaps have some more challenge as they go through in solo content. We would love to visit Harad or Khand or any of the other outer kind of lands, but we have nothing to announce there. So for the NPC that changes difficulty, that is not something that would be its own server like the PvP one. That would be something that would be a larger scale that players could participate in. But I don't want to spoil it as we're still doing balance, because doing that kind of balance is like really hard. So hiring is, yes, it's just limited to the USA. There are international laws that complicate things. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now, well, we have that limitation. We would love to do more cool housing for different race specifics, but it's a matter of a time crunch. Is there more housing coming? Maybe. Not for Gundabad, though. It's not scheduled.
We have said that in the future, if we do further housing, it would likely be a non-human form of housing, only because we've done more human housing recently, and it would be more likely that we would do something like, elf, dwarf, hobbit, whatever, something like that, for our next housing push.
Right. I'll never talk about anything related to IP or legal, but I will say that we plan on having Loatro going for decades and more. We want it to go forever. So, and we don't see anything that would prevent us from doing that. Branching quest lines are really expensive, and a lot of times the players get to that choice point and they actually get choice paralysis because they feel as though they don't have enough information, and what ends up happening is you have to be very careful, because the players actually feel bad because they go to one ending, and if they don't like the ending and they've lost the opportunity to try the other one, it actually works against it. Against you. So you have to be really careful about offering that kind of stuff. I'm not saying we would never do it. We just want to be careful.
What plans do we have for the 64-bit client?
In terms of what specific?
To make it the default is what Tanless over in Twitch chat asked, but I also saw someone else ask about, are we doing further development on the 64-bit client at all in the near future here?
I mean, the 64-bit client will have, like, as we go forth and look to add more tools and features in terms of graphics, that those will will obviously need to be constantly developing the 64-bit client to be better.
I think if the question is, are we going to be getting rid of the 32-bit? Probably not. I think that is likely to remain a long-term choice.
Yes. We want to keep the 32-bit client, so as long as we can. There are some older operating systems that we're desperately trying to support the players with, but that are no longer supported by Microsoft, and we have to be very careful that we don't cause issues there, as people who are on older machines have seen. So we want to be careful that we don't do that, but that is something that we want to support as many players as possible. The Hobbits have a strength bonus because they eat a lot, and that energy just roars through them. Second breakfast, baby. Second breakfast. Let's see. Blue Champion, yes. There are a number of trees that we would love to have. We would love to touch upon. I can't touch upon specifics of trees because we just don't have enough time. It's not something that will. Like, tree-specific stuff won't be something that I can do in the hour of AMAs. I apologize. Right now, we are adding a lot of tools to our GMs. Have the capability. They will have the capability of getting much more count information up front, and we are working on the capability of having them help people when they are offline. So we are investing into the GMs to help you more quickly. So that's something that is currently being done and is on. Um, uh, let's see, beta state, the 64-bit client. I'd have to look at that. I mean, it's pretty solid right now that we've seen, so we can probably take it out of
Yeah, I
beta
don't think
state.
there's any particular reason it's still listed in beta. I think it just,
That's an
yeah,
oversight. Thank you for pointing that out.
yeah.
If you see some fixing of Bjorning legs that look like animation tweaks, I would definitely post that. Our animator loves to hear stuff like that, and so that they can look into that. Um, we definitely, let's see, the set bonuses are a little, for the Pelennor instance cluster, are a little detail oriented for a question and answer. This, I apologize. I know, like, we all are really interested in how the itemization is going to. We definitely want all the tanks to feel valuable, so that is an ongoing goal. And I hear you on that.
We have a question from Facebook chat that's worth mentioning a little bit, and that is, what can we see in terms of further PvMP work in 2021? We do have something we could mention there in terms of, some amount of work going on.
Well, we definitely have some more resources on it. We're looking on better some changes to the end game. We know that, for instance, the scaling doesn't work as well as we'd like, and so we're discussing kind of what to do about that, so that the people at the end game have a better experience. So that's something that we've discussed, and yeah, and we're looking at how to balance a little better so that there is. Um, we understand that new gearing can throw the balance off, and maybe we can do some things to alleviate that a little bit, but I don't want to announce anything because it's ongoing and there's some tech required in the bet rebalance. So, but yes, that is something that we have been discussing. We definitely have hair, faces, character customization in the works, in order for all of the races to have more options. That is something that we'd like to do, maybe even before Gundabad, at least have some extra ones in. So yes.
Chorlock has a question you might actually know the answer to. What's with the Visual C++ launcher installation that started up recently? I believe that is due to us adding that check to the launcher because it's been somewhat deprecated by Microsoft, right?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was when we updated. I mean, let's face it, the launcher updates so much faster right now, and I want to thank engineering for that. But one of the side effects was that there was some small DLL that apparently, if you have a really old machine and you never updated it with any of the service packs, the launcher can fail because there's this one DLL that's needed, and I believe that new stuff is checking to make sure that that's available on the older machines. Um, I don't know that. I think that there's a lot of graphical updates that we can add in terms of improving our engine. I don't know that I would get into the specifics like ray tracing, but we definitely are looking at, like, how can we add new options for the artists to make things look better. In fact, that's a discussion that we were having since in this month. So
I want ray tracing. That sounds great. Awesome.
um,
Yeah. We have
current
just a couple minutes left here. I want to mention we have about 3 minutes or so, give or take, on the chat. So great time to kind of ask any remaining questions that you might have for us in Twitch chat.
All right. So what are our final questions here? Let's see. A media skill canceling themselves is something that we'd like to address. I think that that ties back into the animation of how skills are animated back when I was talking about that. So that is on our radar. Oh wow, they're really coming in now. Yes, we definitely are looking into server performance. We're trying to change the hardware so that we move and how the chat server is set up to help alleviate the chat problems and overall server performance. Something that we're looking into in terms of like how that works. That is a priority. We are, obviously trying to bring in more engineers to work on it. So the producer's letter probably next when we'll go to the translators next week.
Yeah, that would be my expectation. Yeah, so probably within the next month.
Yeah, so it's almost ready. It needs to be gone over, and then we'll go to the translators, and then when we get it back from the translators, you'll see it.
And we have to let our partners see it in that too. So
yeah, there's a process. Let's see. Bill Omens and Buried Treasure. Yeah, hopefully we understand that those are popular to some players, and we're happy that it's popular. Let's see. I think that one of the things that we do need to do is revamp our websites. That's on our radar too. They're old, so that's something that we'll be looking at.
we have some people lobbying for Twitch drops, that sort of thing. We currently do not have plans to integrate the Twitch API into the Loatro game client. I know that there would be some Twitch streamers who would love to see us get into the drops ecosystem. We're looking into it. We've looked into it, but I wouldn't expect to see us do it anytime soon. In terms of other support, though, for Twitch streamers and that, please do reach out to us on Twitter or Facebook or through the forums, and we'd like to support streamers, large or small, whenever we can, with like some giveaways, things like that you can do in your chat.
Yes. Okay, it's one. There's a lot of stuff I saw go by that I couldn't get to, so we'll hit it up in the next AMA.
Yeah.
I hope, like, one of the things the players said is they want more communication. I want to try to do more of these. As you can see, like, we didn't wait a year for the second one, so and I'm trying to get through as many as possible. Even the people who are kind of mean to me, I try to answer your questions. So
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you very much, Sev, for joining us here today. And you can find this archive over on twitch.tv/LotroStream or youtube.com/Lord of the Rings. That's where you can find these videos. Give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, and what have you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
okay.